So now I'm doing with brewing the black rind, as I tell you, and this is pretty huge filter, so very hard to brew it, but I think this is a very basic point, so just try to concentrate on it. The things that why do I brew the panel rind as a block has the two methods. I mean, there is two reasons. One is to, of course, it is very important base painting for nice expression for me, of course, to make more, effective. And another reason, the number two, is to understand what the panel rinds are. I mean, if you brew the panel rind like that, at least you can understand to which part should I do the, some part of effect. I mean, okay, this is this part I should put some effect on it. I should put another effect on it, or something like that. I mean, you can imagine to plan the next paint according to doing these kind of things, because the effect is not only the same way at all the time. You can choose, or you can control the effect part by side by side. I mean, but if at least you should understand to what kind of things up there, right? Or to okay, this is pretty okay. Just brewing the opposite side. I think 50% of the fuselage has done. But I still have got many more. It's just because why do I use the white surfacer? The reason is very simple. To make sure that the very accurate gray color paint. That's it. If I brew the gray surfacer, which is very hard to identify the basic gray color which I prepared, and it's just a little bit. If I paint a gray surfacer, it just turned to see like a little bit darker than white surfacer, so I just confused, I think, to check the correct fitting of my gray paint. So that's why I just paint the white surfacer for the basic paint. And it's I think it's really up to you. I sometimes I use the gray paint, gray surfacer, but most of the time I use the white surfacer, especially for gray aircraft. So it just need a little bit more time. If I do the little bit more small aircraft, the paint will be more easy, but in this time, this is a 1/32 Dame Barrage F-14 Tomcat, so things is not going so fast, not at all like that. And one thing that I can tell you is to try, if you want, really try to brew the very tiny line. You can use the 0.3 of course, but it's very hard to regulate the air pressure, or very hard to control the thinner of the painting part, right? So in otherwise, if you use the 0.2, I think most of the problems that you have will be solved by your all-in-all techniques, I think. Because I've been using the 0.3 airbrush for a long time, and it was really hard to brew the very tiny line. So I changed to use the 0.2. I use the 0.3 of course still now, but especially doing such kind of very tiny work, I use the 0.2, and which is very easy. I think a lot of people have already had, so it is not a necessary talk, but if you have a really problem with the airbrush techniques, you can just try to use another 0.2, or you can use the 0.5, which is very thick but when I painting with the white surfacer to the whole fuselage, I use the 0.5 airbrush, which is very widely you can blow. So you can you can choose. Alright, I think almost done. And in addition, you can put some blue color, which is like here, or it's very up to you. If you put the blue color as the spot, point to point, which will be a little bit nice effect after you paint the gray color. But in this time, I consider to think, not consider, I just think about if I doing a lot of effect on it, the blue, a little bit blue, shading effect will be disappear after that. So I think it's just nonsense, I think, to doing this, so I just quit. But anyway, I just doing the whole things, like the wing. I just forgot some. And you can, as I tell, you can put some blue color if you want. It's if you are doing with some quite clean aircraft, you can use it blue. It's just because you don't put so much effect on it, right? So you can do that. But in this time, I don't do this. It's just wasting of the blue color. So, and I think the basic panel line painting has almost done. Okay, and now is the time to paint for the fuselage and wings and other part as the basic color of gray. The first I want to say is you need to prepare plenty of the gray color, of course, because the 1/32 scale aircraft has a lot of the paint. At least you need a 2 color, basic color, which is 306, and doing with mixing with the number 1, or you can use the this one, which is pretty nice. And you can use 308 or 307 for naval aircraft, of course, but in this time I use the 306. And the reason why do I use the 306 is I just want a little bit dark gray color. I just need it. So if I use in by a 308 or 307 or 325 or whatever, the color is a little bit light. So it's very hard to make a different brightness of the gray color. So the first I make the basic color using with the 10 or 20% of the white and 70 or 80% of the 306, and that is a result of the basic color. And after I finish the main paint, I use a little bit more bright, which is I think mostly 50 or 60% of the white and 40 or 50% of the 306. So at least I need 3 different level of the brightness of the 306 color. So it's just why I used a little bit dark gray, which is very easy to make 3 different or 4 different. Maybe I think basically the 2 different brightness of the color is fine. If I use the very bright color first, it's very hard to mix with the white, too bright, right? So this time I make I think that I just try to paint anyway. So this is the way I use the basic color, and I can say before, I did say before, don't use the different number of gray, which is very important. Once you decided to only the simple 306 color, you just continue to use the same color. Don't use the 307 or 308. If the aircraft has the camouflage, of course you can use it. But if the aircraft is simply one color, you shouldn't use the different color. And now I am doing the test of painting color, right? And before you are doing with the paint on the fuselage, you can just test like this kind of wings, which is very easy to make sure that whether the color is nice or not. And this is quite, simple things that you just glue the color, very thin. Not too much. If the paint is a little bit too much, you can put the thinner a little bit. Try to avoid the hiding black shadows, right? And I think the container will be fine. I think we just continue to brew it. And at that time, as you can see, the color is a little bit dark, right? If I compare with 308 or other gray, which normally people use. But in this time, if the color is a little bit dark, which is fine, because I put a little bit more bright gray on it. So in this time, a little bit dark is fine. And this is a very kind of sense. You shouldn't overcoat it with whole gray. It's very hard to explain that, but usually people are very trying to, do the complete things. I mean, try to hide the black shadows completely. And of course, this is nice, but if I compare with, other effects, not compare, I mean, if I doing with many effect on it, I just prepare to finish a little bit incompletely, which is very hard to explain, but at least you can just remain. If you are doing this very completely and fading, painting very well, as hiding a shadow of the black color, at that time it's very fine. But after you wash or after you do the many effect on it, the expression will be completely disappear. Or maybe sometimes it just still a little bit. But I think to more get a nice expression at the end, you just simply finished the not complete, which is very hard to explain this anyway. So you can just see this about my expression feelings. I think I should do a little bit more, but not much. Not much. Not much. Because the F-14 is damn hard, dirty aircraft. So I think this kind of things is very fine. just like that. You can see that. I should put some, you know, a little bit more gray on it, but it's just fine. In this time, I just finished like that. People usually I do a little bit more, but in this time I finish like this. Or you can test it. Other side. I think the color is pretty fine. I think if I compare with the past my work, F-18 Hornet, if you want to check, you can see on my YouTube channels, F-18D CAZ aircraft, which is the red tail, and I use the 306 color on that aircraft. So if you really like the aircraft painting, you just can follow the 306 color, because I use the 306 on the base. So a little bit, try to avoid the hiding black color. So the thickness of the gray paint is very important at that time. If the paint is so, you know, so thick, the shadow will disappear completely, and it doesn't meant to be nothing, you know. So this is very important. Just try to. You can simply put the white surface first. After that, you just a little bit blue on the black line, which is fine. If I want to make a little bit more clean aircraft, which is like, you know, not dirty, very brand new aircraft, I just cover more to see more brand new aircraft. But in this case, I am going to make a pretty messy and dirty aircraft. So I just try to not cover whole thing, just remain a little bit strong expression. So I think this is very fine. So you just glue the white area first. Always glue the white area first. Which is pretty common technique, but you know, always glue the white area first, and then you just glue the black line a little bit, and try to remain a little bit strong at this time. You can glue a little bit more, it's fine, just stop it. According to my experience, it is very, the end is very nice. If you are doing this very completely at this time, the end, the result will not be so well. So at least you can trust me what I'm saying, and you know, you don't have to worry about that, because I put so many effects on it after that, so it's just fine. So now what I'm doing is to prepare the little bit more bright color of 306. So I made it more, put white more. This is I think almost 40% of the white, 60% of the gray. So I just have to test whether the brightness is fine or not. I think I should put a little bit white more. So I just try to regulate, which is pretty, it is pretty difficult. So if I compare with, it doesn't seem to very difficult, different. And at this time, I need a big difference. So a little bit too much white is pretty fine. So at least I can put the white color. Which is pretty wasting of the gray color, but white color, but okay, just to test a little bit. I think this time it's pretty fine, much more bright. So I put a little bit more bright gray color to paint as random, not a whole, as a random. I can spray on it, and very quite thin paint is recommended. You can easily, still you can find a black line light, then this is pretty okay. Try to make the line more straight. And this is the pretty basic paint. So the feeling, or the sense of painting will be tested, and it depends on your experience. So if the bright color is not bright enough, it doesn't make so difference. The effect will not get a good result. So at this time you should put quite bright gray color on it. So in this time I can think I should put a little bit white, a little bit more, but in this time I think that's fine, because this is the simply simple wing. So just try to make the black line more sharp. And this is pretty good, because I have another effect on it. So if the paint is completely finished very well, it doesn't mean to be anything. So just remain a little bit is pretty fine. And most important things that you have to do is try to make very natural I mean, not, not the footprint of the airbrush, right? It seems to very unnatural, so I just try to avoid to footprint as white brush paint. So just roughly, but naturally not the main of the airbrush footprint, which is very important. You can just simply try to. This is pretty experimental, and it's a kind of your feeling of expression, so I cannot tell exactly what it is, but at least it's really up to my satisfaction. So the end is, not certain at all the time. So it's just fine. Okay, so other hand, I think I should already done this. Just check it. Just random is fine. Bit white. You can see. Like that. Okay. I think this is a pretty long tutorial. I think it's gonna be, but I think it's time to almost finish in this time. Maybe next time I will show you the next tip. But anyway, I have to paint the basic color first, of course, and then as I tell you, I just put a little bit bright color. So just trying to make remains a little bit sun. I think this is a DIY panel, so it's just a very small piece, so we can just draw it away. And this is very important that if you have very specific, very strong images of F-14 Tomcat in your head, these kinds of things will go easily, much more easily than you don't. The things going well so easy, so you just very good. And I can do some flaps. And don't have to paint the whole area. Just corner is very important, so I just paint very carefully. I think this is fine. A little bit a little bit necessary to paint, still it's fine. Now the flaps. A little bit remain, maybe. Just paint the white surface first. Alright. I have to do the main filler, so we'll get more time to finish this. Alright, okay, see you next.